Yeah, like I've sold some feet pics here and there. I can't believe it was recording when I said that. Ladies of the Ton.
Welcome to Ladies of the Ton.
Ladies of the Ton.
Ladies of the Ton. Tis I, the queen.
Your mom. What? The queen.
You were gonna say your mama.
Hi guys, welcome to Ladies of the Ton. This is Orr.
This is Maria, coming to you from Canada.
Ottawa. So funny thing, we actually tried to film this podcast already on Father's Day, which was last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago. And guess what? Not a single second of audio captured. So I said, who gives up? Quitters and losers. We are not either of those things.
I am.
No,
I cried after. I sent her a big message being like,
no,
are you angry with me?
But I think it's good that we had that because that was great practice for today's episode. And today's episode, as you can tell from the title, it's all about
parents,
the mamas and the papas of Bridgerton.
The good and the bad.
Yes, because who scars us the most?
Parents.
I just point straight to my dad. You. No, I love you, Dad. Hope you're having a good day. I don't want to hear anything you have to say about this top. Okay, thank you.
I'm just a bystander.
Just a bystander to my family drama. Okay, so first let's talk about the first
mothers.
ever parent introduced on the show, Miss Violet Bridgerton, the mom of the show.
Yes.
First of all, so hot, stunning. You can't even tell she is the age that they're trying to say she is. She's unproblematic, and as long as you stay unproblematic, you don't age.
I mean,
look at Taylor Swift.
I mean, you do age, you just age gracefully.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So the thing with Violet is that she's always like the go-to person when there's that big moment with a character of like the main Bridgerton sibling of the season kind of has a very big issue when they can't figure it out and they're in their feels, and Violet comes in like shining knight in armor.
What?
Literally, and saves them, right?
She's a mom, bro.
Yeah. Their entry into the marriage march, she's always like, okay, this season, I'm like, let's say season 3, she introduced Francesca into the marriage march and she made sure that she has the best prospects. So if you go up to her and you're like, I want to do this with my life based on what the society is and everything, she's gonna have your 200% your back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like she will support you and take your personality, your goals, and your like who you are in count before she debuts you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, like she makes sure that all her children are best prepared. Sometimes she can get a little overzealous, right?
Yeah.
When she teams up with Lady Danbury and she's like plotting and scheming. Like, is it good television? Yes. Do I wish she would just talk to her kids about it instead of plotting behind their back? Yeah.
But I think like every mom does that where they have like their little moments where they're being sneaky with their kids.
Yeah, because, you know, they think the kids, obviously some of the times it's true, like the kid doesn't really know what's going on.
And needs a little push.
Yeah, but when does it become too much? That's when we got to talk about Portia Featherington.
Okay, but like she has absolutely an amazing character arc. Like she has become, like I was telling you, like she's become a better mother and a better human being by doing so as well. This most recent season, like she actually came through as a mom.
Guess who was Portia this season? Like Portia girly this season. It was me. It's like, I just know she's gonna turn around. I just had a feeling.
Yeah. She was introduced as, like you say, overbearing. She was very much overbearing. She was like, secure a marriage with a financially stable man, get babies, the fortune, the household, the title needs to like be on lockdown. I get where she's coming from, especially in that environment, but she was, because even Penelope talked to her about it, like she was causing a lot of issues for all three girls, especially presenting them at the same time.
Like, especially mentally, the things on top of, I think the first ever corset scene we see is Portia doing it to Prudence, who's her eldest daughter. So she has always been more on their essentially about this, and she has been more like the overarching matriarch of the Featherington family.
Yeah.
I can see why she has felt that need, because Mr. Featherington, who is like, she's a single parent essentially, because he did not participate in anything. Like, he was not there. He would just grunt some. Like, I think his first ever dialogue was in the second last episode or something. Like, he didn't even have dialogue. He was just like, in the caption it just says grunts. So when you have someone like that and they're like still present technically in the scene, I think you have to toughen up and become a different kind of parent.
Yeah.
Do I wish she had more self-awareness? Yes, but you know what?
But she got it.
Girly pop can only excel so much.
Exactly. Like, with including her upbringing and the fact that we find out that Lord Featherington was not a good husband either.
Exactly.
She did wonderful with all that trauma on her shoulders.
Because look how well Penelope turned out. And yeah, does Portia not always encourage her other hobbies of her children because she wants them to focus on the marriage mart? Yeah, and at the time, especially with the norms of society, she would be considered an excellent parent.
She would actually be considered the norm of being a good parent, actually, thinking about her kids' futures. And in this case, a woman's future was directly tied to her husband's future.
Exactly. And that's why I commend Violet a lot too, because she did that without there being her husband being in the picture.
Yeah.
And because she raised Anthony somewhat well, of course, Anthony knows that it's okay to give up some of the control to his mom. That's why I think in the first few seasons they had to have a lot of conversations like, you are the man of this house, Anthony.
Yeah, he had to be the Lord Bridgerton.
Viscount.
The Viscount.
Viscount of the house, yeah.
And take over everything, like the estate and everything that came with it at a very young age.
Yeah.
He didn't get to really have a full childhood.
He didn't. And he also got to see his father die, and it was so brutal and looked excruciating in front of him, right? So that really scars you as a child. So I think there wasn't much room for a healthy childhood at that point. But
After
I think,
that,
yeah, and especially when Violet was mourning. Yeah. And I've seen this online where a lot of people are like almost shitting on Violet for the way she raised Anthony.
Yeah.
And were you there? Were you there? Have you ever lost someone that close to you who fathered 8 of your kids and the 8th one is in your womb and she's pregnant? Keep that in mind. She's pregnancy hormones and everything. So that guy's like judging us for filming.
I know. I see it. I saw him looking.
Oh.
But like, exactly. Like, she was... Like, grief is a very hard thing to get past. You have to learn to live life without somebody that you thought was going to actually be there at the end of your life. Like, your husband and your siblings are essentially the people who you kind of like accustom your brain to expect there at the end.
Exactly. And out of nowhere, it's like the rug is almost pulled from under her. And Anthony is the only one who is like close to being an adult in that room, in that household. Yeah. So of course Violet, because Anthony is almost like in his head, so she screams at him like, Anthony, make sure the kids don't see this.
Yeah.
Did it make Anthony grow up faster and give up his childhood to step into the role of a parent? Yes, but it had to be done because there were 7 kids to raise.
And he was the Lord. That's the thing that, like,
he was the man of the household.
Exactly. Like, Violet couldn't be the Lord in that type of, like, environment and time frame. He was the Lord. She was just the widow at that point.
And she had 2 things she could do. She could either raise a Joffrey. For Game of Thrones fans, you know exactly what I mean.
I can't stand the wailing of women. How can you stop? How can you stop? How can you stop it?
She could raise a man-child tyrant, is what I mean. Or she could raise, although he didn't have as much power as Joffrey was the king, so it's very different.
Yeah.
Or she could raise, and
she did a good job.
And we can tell he respects women by
how he treats Kate. His emotional support.
His emotional support, Kate. Did you see that? Because I'm online. So we just finished watching season 3. We reacted to it live as well. You can find it on our YouTube. And what we essentially took away from it is that Anthony is just a little big baby and he has his emotional support Kate because he can't let go of Kate. And people online are like,
nobody's taking her.
No one's taking her. She's gonna be there.
Like, you got her locked down.
And you know what? That's exactly the type of content I wanted to see this season from Canthony.
Yeah.
So I'm a big Canthony fan to the point where I inhaled their season when it came out. In literally like 2 days, not even. Anyway, moving on.
Season 3 same day.
Yeah, but that was for you guys. We did it for you. Thinking of the Canthony fever, I think we can all agree that
they're going to be wonderful parents.
They're going to be wonderful parents.
Yeah.
And Colin and Penelope as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just because if you treat someone right enough, or if someone had a terrible childhood, a lot of the times they meet in the middle where they end up becoming really good parents, right? Because they want that for their kids.
Yeah, absolutely. A loving household creates loving kids. Not 100% of the time, but it's the rule of the thumb.
Yeah, I guess it depends because let's look at Charlotte. That's the Queen Charlotte. And in the spin-off, we saw that she had a lot of
love for
George and, you know, he as well for her, as we can tell. Because he cannot breathe when she's not near.
And the amount of kids she has.
She has many kids, but does she like her kids? Honestly, they are the most privileged household in the Ton. So I can totally understand if they don't feel like they need to be good people because it's like there's a lot of pressure, I guess.
Yeah, but like
it's easier for people to be brats if they're that high in society.
Yeah. I also feel like she cares more about furthering George's line. So making sure that George's lineage continues than her actual kids.
Yeah.
Like, the way she, like, treats them. Like,
and you know, that's the thing that Brimsley, I remember, mentioned in Queen Charlotte, that
they needed the mother, not the queen.
Yes, and she was always waiting for George to, like, be George again and be Farmer George. And, you know, she was mothering him so much to the point that she almost forgot to be a mother to her own kids. Yeah.
She needed to be a queen.
Yeah, but what a beautiful love story.
Yeah.
You love me. I love you.
Oh my god.
Desperately, I cannot breathe when you are not near. I love you, Charlotte. My heart calls your name.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't think Queen Charlotte was a bad mother. I just think she was an absent one.
But she also was married off really young, and then out of nowhere she discovers shortly after her marriage that her husband is going through this mental disease.
Yeah.
So
that he has health issues that he won't, like, there's no cure.
It makes sense that the center of her world at that point is her and George.
Yeah.
And the kids are often overlooked. And I'm so grateful that Violet didn't do the same to the Bridgertons.
No,
because you can just tell by the way she makes sure that all of them are taken accounted of. Yeah, they're all cared for. And it's almost like... I'm like, I would love to see a prequel story of how Violet and Edmund meet. That would be so cute, like a little spin-off.
If we get that, because we
I want to
gotta...
see how her garden is gardened.
we got a spin-off of Queen Charlotte. So I'm like, why don't we get like a part 2 where it's like you said, Violet's and Edmund's love story, but we get to see a little bit more of Queen Charlotte and Farmer George.
They're just in the backgrounds living. If Corey comes back, Corey, who plays George, I will literally, I don't even know, I'm going to lose my mind on camera.
We will record it, of course.
We'll record it, of course.
But yeah, like, because we already see like previous couples in like next seasons, so that's why I'm like, if they do like a season 2 of the spin-off,
you know, like season 2, why not?
I didn't have enough of freaking George.
If we can get away, okay, I know in one of the podcasts that we filmed already, I don't know if you guys already saw it or not, because our scheduling is still up in the air, about Cressida's side plot.
Oh yeah.
Is it true that it's a side plot? Yes. Do I like that we got to see more of her dynamic with her family and her parents this time? Honestly, yes. Because for the longest time, I was like, okay, but why is this girl so mean? Like, what's up with her? It was like content, like, and I think in the books too, right? Like, she's just mean here and there, but there's not enough context.
A bully.
Yeah, so it was nice that we got to see that, okay, her parents are bigger bullies than her, which I kind of like anticipated as well, because a lot of the times the class bully happens to be bullied at home.
Yeah.
So.
And we got to, okay, this is now going into, I guess, the bad side of parents, because Cressida's father is a groomer. Can I say that? Can we say that? He's a groomer. Because he's selling his own daughter off to a man older than him.
Is that a groomer? It's the man who wants to marry her.
He's part of it, though. Like, he is helping it. Exactly.
Yeah, and he's like
not just complicit.
Times.
Like, he's the one that arranged it.
But at the time, there was no like limit. Like, there was no legalcy. Like, there were no laws to what is an adult and stuff like that. So,
but regardless, he knew she didn't want to marry him. Knew why she didn't want to marry him. He also knew that guy was not a good man.
Yeah, either. He was like 4 or 5 children. Like, what are you talking about?
And like the way he was talking to Cressida, being like, "You're not gonna dress like that." I'm like,
we're not gonna attend high society. Like, what is she a maid? Like, what's going on? Anyway, speaking of great moms, though, I want to like mention a little bit. The Sharma family and yes, Kate and Anthony and Kate and Edwina. So I really like the kind of mom she is. So the backstory is that she was in high society. She's an Indian woman. She was in nobility, and then she falls in love with someone who lives in India, or they moved to India, and it was a commoner, someone who was like, one of the people teaching
not
music or something, like still someone of high intellectual, like a high intellect, but he was still part of the common society. So that's why she got cast out of high society. And by the way, I remember seeing this, that she was the diamond, almost like the equivalent of a diamond.
Yes.
During her marriage mart.
Yes.
So she was the season's incomparable. Is that what they say? Yeah.
So not only like did she marry this man also had another child, Kate.
Exactly.
So she married not only a commoner, but she married a man who already had a child.
Yes, he was married before, and in that society,
is a big,
yeah, cannot date men with kids.
Not with her standing, and the fact that like she was the diamond meant that she had prospects. So her family was very, very angry for the fact that she chose to marry a man who had already a child, which is Kate, and was not the same social standing as her and her family.
Guess what? She found all the happiness in the world when she moved back to India with him. They had Edwina. The dad passed away and Kate stepped up into the role of like caretaker of the household.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she let Kate do it, and she made sure that Kate felt that she was loved.
Yes.
But as we saw in season 2, I think they really needed to have that conversation that you're still my child. Like, okay, you had to take all this responsibility, and you made sure that your sister Edwina was like front of this marriage mart, but you deserve to find love and happiness too. And you're not screwing anyone over. You're more screwing Edwina over if you are not being honest about your intentions and your feelings. And then that's going to be hovering over that marriage and you guys' dynamic and relationship till the end of time. And who wants that?
Exactly. And the reason why we think the Sharma mother is also such a good mom is because, like we said, Kate isn't her real kid. Like, biologically, that's not her real kid. Culturally, and if we go further than blood, that's her kid. And yeah, like you said, like they needed to have that conversation because I think Kate internally still felt like maybe she
owed it to her almost to
be a make
sure Edwina is well off.
Exactly. Like she was putting herself to the side and making sure Edwina, because Edwina was her biological daughter, that like she was almost like pushing herself down, and the mother coming in and being like, you're my daughter too. That's like, even though she's a stepmother, like that's a real mother right there. Like that's
more than a lot of people's actual biological mom.
Absolutely.
Do.
Like she took on the road of Kate's mother very seriously. Like when she married Kate's father, she said, I'm taking both of you in.
Yeah. And I'm sure in the beginning it was weird for her.
A little bit, yeah.
When her, I mean Kate, of course, I'm sure it was weird for her because she was a child. But the fact that she decided, like, it's just good parenting results in good human beings, results in good parenting, and then the cycle goes on.
Exactly.
And I think the Sharma, like, although Violet is probably a closer example to a real life parent because we see her throughout the seasons, right? But I think Lady Sharma, she was a great example of what good parenting can do. Like speaking of great parents, let's talk about the daddies of Bridgerton.
While I work real hard, don't mind getting on my knees. I always do what I say. I ain't just another tease.
You're like doing that, but I'm literally gonna start with Duke of Hastings.
Oh,
Mr. Bassett. Yeah, because that was probably the worst parent we've seen this so far.
By far,
right? That was first season, literally first episode. We're talking about the previous Duke of Hastings, Simon's dad.
Yeah.
Let me tell you
what
all the things I wanted to do to this man when I first saw him.
Time world champion! Put your hands up! Get your hands up!
And in the books, he's even worse to Simon.
Yeah.
So Simon has a speech impediment, and it's common because you're just learning how to speak in the beginning.
Yeah.
But he put this little baby on a pedestal because he wanted an heir to the Hastings name. And then, okay, the child is having trouble learning with linguistics and stuff. And why are you doing this? There's the red light. Like, do you see?
What red light?
See, you start talking about this man and all the bad things happen.
Why? What happened?
No, I'm talking about the Duke of Hastings. We started talking about it and this whole lighting thing happened. He is just bad luck. That's what he is.
He's a horrible human being.
He's a horrible dad. He had no patience. He wasn't cut out to be a husband or a father. Like the way he talked about his mom being like just a body and she didn't deliver because the kid has a speech impediment. Like, what do you mean?
No, and like, okay, going off of him too, can we also talk about how Lady Danbury showed up for Simon as a stand-in mother?
100%.
Because like Simon's mother died. Like she
in childbirth right after.
Yeah, she wasn't unfortunately present. And I think that's one of the reasons why Simon had such a speech impediment. He had a lot of emotional baggage as a little kid.
He had a lot of trauma, and out of nowhere, this person is like, you're gonna be the king of the world when you grow up.
Exactly, yeah.
But when he shows one sign of weakness, he's not even willing to work with him about it. He's like, you're a disappointment. You're the worst thing that has ever happened to me. I don't even want to see you. And in the books, what he does is he still keeps tabs on him while he's at Oxford. So it's like you're not even letting him go because he knows that he's still part of the Hastings line. So it's something that hovers over Simon's mind for so long to the point that he loses sight of what's important in life, right? He's like, okay, I'm not even going to give you an heir, but he's also depriving himself of the joy of being a dad.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like, and then Lady Danbury is standing up for Simon. I think that's the whole reason why Simon did not continue with that speech impediment, because she did stand up.
She worked hard on him.
Exactly. She stood up for him against his own father, telling the father, being like, that's your son. That's the future Duke of Hastings. You do not talk to him in such a manner. And that, I guess, like, that moment of like a person speaking on your worth, it gave a lot of confidence to Simon and being like, you know what, like, I'm going to work.
And it's not like just anyone. Lady Danbury had considerable
She's the family,
standing in high society too, so it wasn't like just a random person is like saying that I'm not like she made sure that he felt included. And I'm sure there were moments when he was growing up where he was probably lashing out at Lady Danbury for wanting to be his mom, and he'd be like, "You're not my mom." I'm sure they had moments like that. But
we kind of see them when they're older.
She's like, "Come to the ball." He's like, "Oh, really? Do I have to?"
Or when he was like, "I assumed that the mothers would be conspiring against me. I didn't know you were one of them." Remember?
He's like, "She is your mama, boy. You better show up because she is your damn mom."
She's technically the aunt, right? She's the aunt.
She's actually the best in the show. She used to be best friends with his mom.
Oh,
so that's why when he's like,
he would say like the Duke of Hastings,
like the previous Duke, he would talk about nasty things about Simon's mom right in front of him. When he was a teenager, I think he came to show him that, okay, I've been doing better, and he had a little bit of a stutter. Because it was so much better than before, though.
And anxiety too.
Yeah, anxiety too, right? And this man is like, you're as useless as your bleep mother.
Oh my God.
And basically calls her a bad word. And that's when we see like Lady Danbury's eye go up, because she said that you're the son of my dearest friend.
Oh my God, then who? Because I thought Charlotte was her dearest friend.
One of her, I guess. Back in the day, she has a little roster of besties. She has a lot. Or I guess they used to be dearest, and Charlotte. When you're friends with the Queen, it's like, it's very interesting, right? Because at the end of every rendezvous with her like bestie, she's having to bow. So I guess it's a little different. It makes sense that you want a friend closer to your stature.
Yeah, but like I love that bowing moment. That's the lowest you can go with these knees. Yes.
She just gets it. And honestly, it's probably only Lady Danbury who can say something.
The only one that can get away with bowing, because she doesn't even try to bow. She just moves her head.
Yeah. But she's the only one who has the Queen's ear the way she does.
Yeah.
So
she's the only one that can get away with not bowing.
Yeah.
Technically.
But she's also a lady, and we know that she and Charlotte, they have been through this journey together, and hopefully we see more of it in a season 2 of Queen Charlotte. But because they've been through a lot of it together, I think they have that sense of camaraderie, like friendship.
Lady Danbury learned how to be a lady because Charlotte, remember, that was one of their agreements that they did together, that Lady Danbury would...
In case, for the listeners, Maria just held her 2 arms together, 2 hands, and then she shook them like the handshake emoji.
like a business... Anyways...
Yeah.
That was one of their deals.
Yeah.
Was that Charlotte would help Lady Danbury become a lady, or technically her husband become a lord, which would then make her a lady. And then she would then be Charlotte's eyes and ears, and she was part of the Queen's court too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anyone deserves to be there, it's her, because when Charlotte first entered into the royal court, I remember she felt so alone and also intimidated by her mother-in-law. Oh my god. So here's the thing. I completely forgot. I thought about this literally yesterday when I was taking a shower at 2 a.m.
You're taking a shower at 2. I'm not gonna ask.
We're
Anyways.
just, yeah. What? I like to take a shower right before I sleep.
I don't sleep at 2 a.m.
All right. I did sleep. I came home from Toronto yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Late.
You
Yeah.
know what? My brain's just running.
I came home at 6 p.m. I came home anyway. We're going back. I was thinking about this of the woman who plays the mother-in-law of Charlotte in Queen Charlotte. That's Lady Catelyn Stark from Game of Thrones.
Yes, you're right.
And I remember when I first saw her in episode 1 of Queen Charlotte, and I saw Michelle Fairley, I think that's her name. When I saw Michelle, I was like, okay, this is a different show. Like, this is not Queen Charlotte. Like, this is not Bridgerton vibes anymore. This is like a period piece, and that's when I was like, okay, this is not going to be like Bridgerton vibes. Not as many haha moments. Storyline is probably better, and that's why I always recommend when someone is like, oh, I don't know if historical romance is my cup of tea. I always suggest Bridgerton. I always suggest Queen Charlotte as a show to start off from. Yes, you will get more context if you watch Bridgerton season 1 and 2 first, and then watch Queen Charlotte. That is the correct order. But if you just watch this show by itself, I think it just shows so much about our society in general.
Yeah.
And okay, going back to Catelyn Stark as the mother-in-law, she was so overbearing.
Rightfully so, though. Like,
because she only knew about the sickness.
Exactly. Like, she lost her husband, the king. Her son, unfortunately, had issues that she did not want outsiders of the royal family to know about, which then put her in a position where she had to think about who she needed her child to marry. And
she would be the Queen of England.
Exactly.
Which is the highest post for a woman at that time.
At that time, exactly. And not only would she be the Queen of England, she would also have to keep George's secret at the same time. So she needed to find a woman that actually had George's and England's best interest at heart. And I absolutely love Charlotte because Charlotte came in, like you said, not knowing how to be a queen, not knowing her place in court. And by the end of that season, she told her husband's mother, I am the queen. And it got to a point that, like, the mother-in-law even looked at her and was like, you were made to be queen. And Charlotte was like, you chose me.
Exactly. The thing is, I think, I'm just going to call her Catelyn because it's funny and great. But I think Catelyn chose her, like, she was initially looking for a daughter-in-law who would not fall in love with George. I think that was her goal because she wanted what was best for George, for the kingdom, essentially. She was doing her duty. And I think at the time they all were in unison, like they agreed that all the torture that they were doing to George, that was the best move forward, and that would take away the there's a lot of like stupid science, like that's not how you solve a mental health issue.
Also brought into light how society even today like sees people with health issues. They treat them like crazy people,
almost like walking on eggshell around them, and that I don't think that does anything for the person, right? It just belittles you to the point where he felt the need to allow all this torture to be done to him.
Like, they made him feel like a cripple, but not in a way where it's like somebody loses a limb or whatever. More like in a burden way, like
his head, his
exactly.
mind.
Like they were making him feel like a stupid person, and when he wasn't, he just had, and like that's why I'm saying, like it brought into light how people in general view people with mental health issues, mental diseases, mental illnesses.
On that note, this episode is fun. No, I'm kidding. I wish. We're gonna get there soon. We're gonna get there.
That was actually perfect.
So smooth.
That was so perfect.
What? That was so funny. But yeah, I think she gave what needed to be given. Like, she was a great mom. Mm-hmm. They show that for a few episodes there, I was like, okay, she's like a villain of this story.
Yeah.
But at the end, we all know that the villain of the story was the disease itself.
And the doctor.
The doctor. He made sure that he would always be employed by making him suffer more so that he loses his mind even more. And then he continues to be employed for the wrong reason.
I think he genuinely, because at one point when him and Charlotte were fighting, because Charlotte obviously was saying, like, I don't care what your education says. What I care is what he wants. And he wants to be with me and all that stuff, remember? Like, the way he was fighting her, I genuinely felt like he believed he was curing him. Like, I don't think he was doing it just to be employed, but I think...
It was almost like culty, right?
Like, he was actually... That's what I'm saying. Like, he actually believed... And this is why I'm not saying all doctors, because that is not true. Doctor is an important profession, and it's also a very self-giving profession. But there are...
Just throws the entire thing.
But there are some doctors who learn enough that they think they know everything, and then do things because they truly believe that is the only way to do things. When it's obvious, like with George, it was so obvious it wasn't working. But that doctor, like, I think he genuinely believed he was doing it.
Yeah, also, like, the more ice baths, I'm calling it an ice bath, but it's straight up just like dunking his head. But the more that's done to someone, the less likely he was probably just silent at some point. Like, he didn't have any energy or will to live left inside of him.
Yeah, and
he was like, oh, he's being cured because he's not acting crazy. Like, what do you mean?
That's exactly it. And like, because of those little moments of like, I guess like complacency, like submission, that was enough for him to like be like, those are results when there weren't results. And I was reading that like a lot of people were saying that like that torture was probably what deteriorated George's mental health even more.
Deteriorated. He was becoming more distant from Charlotte out of nowhere. This is going into full-on Queen Charlotte talk, but I just wanna wrap it up with this show because, like I said, I think some of the themes are often lost in Bridgerton because of all the different character plots going on. But Queen Charlotte, this show had some time to flesh out these dynamics a lot more. Yeah. And I really think that Charlotte almost shook hands with her mother-in-law to the point that, okay, we actually both have this responsibility to make sure that George doesn't lose himself, like he doesn't lose Farmer George, which is like his actual being, because he's king of the state. So let's join hands together, and we are gonna do his job as long as he gets to be happy.
Exactly. And Charlotte did it. Like,
I don't think she's a bad queen.
She's not. Oh no, Charlotte's an amazing queen. She was just an absent mother.
Yeah.
George's mother was a great queen. She was just a very scared mother. And fear causes damage on the kids. And in this case, George.
And that's why Charlotte is so fearless.
I think so, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. She thought she found the wrong girl initially for her son, but at the end, and even now in season 3, we can see that Charlotte is exactly what
was needed
for that role. Okay. And on that note, we've talked about everyone. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about like what we expect the future parents to look like. I think it's just going to be healthy parenting.
Yeah, a lot of generational trauma and like a lot of, I guess, like problems and grudges were smoothed over. And like we can see with Penelope and Colin that like Colin has fully integrated into the Farrington family. With Kate and Anthony,
he's the daddy of the household.
Yeah, he's very happy having his wife take on some of the responsibility.
Yeah.
And they left to India.
Kate and Anthony.
Left to India, remember?
Yeah. I love how she's talking about Colin, and then she's like, left to India, because we cannot wait to talk about Anthony.
They're both going to be good parents.
And he literally said that so that their kid gets to be born in India. He's always going to be British, and he's always going to be
Indian.
A Bridgerton, he said. But let the child be born into
the mother's culture.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Oh, I'm going to cry. And furthermore, like not just them being good parents, can we talk about Prudence and Philippa? The way that, was it Prudence? One of the
tall one is Prudence.
Which one is Philippa then?
Philippa is like the shorter one who's like cute.
Albion and I are very passionate, of course.
Okay, so it's Philippa. The way Philippa, before the end of season 3, like to her little daughter stated, you can be anything you want, even a writer. I was like that just shows that she supports her sister. After so much like strife between the sisters, that little line was like, one, she's now giving a new love to her child that she didn't get. But 2, she's also giving love to her sister. Like she's already showing a better motherhood.
Yeah, I think, but also let's keep in mind that Penelope, there's so much lighting now.
I know.
Out of nowhere, Penelope, they got to know that she was whistled down. So I think there's a power imbalance there. So some of it is definitely farce. Some of it is fake, but I definitely like how they all had a child. And yeah, maybe might be some resentment over the fact that Penelope got to give birth to a boy who's the heir to the Featherington family and household.
Yeah, because the first boy gets the title.
I can definitely foresee some kind of like between the cousins, like some like tension. I think Penelope and Colin are gonna be good enough parents to squash any kind of rivalry like that?
I think so.
Yeah, I think they're gonna raise a healthy family together. Same for Anthony. However, do I think that maybe Kate and Anthony, because they're both competitive, their competitive nature, we also saw in season 3, they were playing like charades or something, and they were like losing their
Lilac!
Forget me not, lilies! So I definitely can see them being a little overbearing and yeah. But I think as long as Violet is in the picture, they're gonna be raised right. Yeah. I have faith. I have so much faith in Violet. I feel like I almost have more faith in Violet than my mom.
And that's the tea.
And that's the tea. We're gonna cut that out, right? Right?
Well, I guess we'll see.
The random editor who shows up at 9, it's like Santa Claus. We don't know who edits.
I guess we'll see. I guess that's, I mean, apart from Daphne and Simon, that's all the parents knew and previous. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do this one on Father's Day, but regardless, we still wanted to say Happy Father's Day to all fathers expecting and current, single dads, dads with, you know.
It's water. Calm down. It's water, but cheers to you.
Yeah. To all dads out there, the good dads, the ones that show up and the ones that are there. Shout out.
And the bad ones, do better.
Or just leave. Sometimes it's better to leave.
That's another thing I said when we were filming the other day. It's like if it's like for all PSA for all women out there who think that having a child randomly is gonna solve all your problems and it's gonna fix him. Girl, if he's not a good husband or partner, what makes you think he's gonna be a good dad?
If he's not a good human being, what makes you think he'll be a good father?
A leader to future human beings. That's just isn't possible.
And that's the real tea, actually.
Yes. Let's bring the expectations back to
reality.
Okay.
But yes, Happy Father's Day, and
I hope you guys take some time today. Talk to your parents, give them a little shout, see how they're doing.
Or if you're a parent, remember that parenting is a hard job. You know what? You're doing good.
You got this. On that note, this has been so fun. Tune in to all of our socials. It's going to be down below. And make sure that you are tuning in on every Wednesday. Because
that's when we drop our podcast.
That's when we yappity yap. Awesome. So thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure as usual. Yours truly,
Ladies of the Ton.
Bye.
Ladies of the ton. Let's go. Man, you hit the rest, now you playing with a wand. Welcome to the podcast, Ladies of the Tons. On Jane Austen with a little bit of funk, a whole lot of spice. Let the drinks pouring, grab snacks, get drunk, get tipsy. Fiction or romance, it be getting sexy with Orr and Maria. Euphoria, yeah, get lost in every story you hear.
I like that. I'll do that every day. Like I just reached out into the camera trying to hug the audience.